Greetings, people of the internet. I am here back yet with another video, and today we are going to be doing a retrospective of Fallout-Brotherhood of Steel, released in, I believe, 2004-ish, and let me explain. Fallout Brotherhood of Steel was released on January 13th, 2004. It was released for the platforms the PlayStation 2 and the original Xbox. The publisher and the developer were both Interplay Games, both basically being developed by the original developers of the game. This is also the first ever entry in the Fallout franchise to release exclusively to console and to not also be released on PC. As the first three entries in the game, those games being Fallout 1, Fallout 2, and Fallout Tactics Brotherhood of Steel, were all exclusive to PC. And this is the first ever entry in the Fallout franchise to Switch. Well, as it is a game in the Fallout franchise, it should have done pretty well, right? Well, not exactly. Upon release, the game got pretty average reviews, with, I believe, the highest being like a 7.5 out of 10, but Metacritic, unfortunately, gave it 66 out of 100. The game unfortunately lacks in a lot of the key elements that make Fallout. So basically, with the main Fallout formula, basically the game has to be like completely open world, no linearity, and crazy enough, this game has a lot of bosses, which with early Fallout games, as far as what I experience with the first three entries, that there weren't very many bosses. Like in this game, there are giant rad scorpions, which are pretty weird because you have to go on a mission, kill a bunch of rad scorpions, and then once you go into this basement thing, you get, face to face with a giant rad scorpion. And so with the other key elements of the game, like Nuka-Cola, just doesn't exist in this game. Instead, there is this drink which is too weird for me to even say. The drink in the game is called Balls. All right, just look up Fallout Brotherhood of Steel Balls, BAWLS, and that should definitely give you what I am talking about. And so all of the main bottle caps that you would collect in major, main Fallout games, with the main theme of those bottle caps being, Nuka-Cola, you just get balls caps, I guess. And this is actually the first Fallout game to have like actual weapons. So instead of your average laser pistols or your freaking double barrel shotguns, you get actual name brand pistols, or weapons. Like when I played the game, I was able to buy a Beretta and a Desert Eagle, which I don't even expect what. I don't even know. I don't even want to know what kind of loops they had to go through to get that kind of licensing. Because with most of the Fallout games, all of the guns are at least somewhat original. They have original names. Despite them being, normal guns, they have original ideas behind them. And the game unfortunately lacks in another major thing, with you not being able to save really most of the time. Like when you're in a specific spot where you want to save and go back to, unfortunately you have to walk up to a machine in game that allows you to save. You can't just go into the options menu, press save it, load back into that save whenever you want. You have to actually find a location to save at. And a lot of the times in game, you are just frustrated because with how overwhelming some of the sections in the game get, like I said, in that Rad Scorpion mission that is very early on in the game, you not only get overwhelmed by Rad Scorpions, also in the beginning of the game, you were basically given absolutely nothing, right? You were given a pistol, which deals the least amount of damage you can ever want, and these things called Iron Fists, which allow you to break through walls and do more critical hits. So while the weapons that you get in the very beginning aren't terrible, they're also not great. Because when you're trying to go against something like a giant rad scorpion, a pistol ain't really going to do you much good, and neither will the iron gauntlets. And so you kind of get overwhelmed because in that mission you not only have to deal with rad scorpions, you also have to deal with rats, which are also a major thing, and there are also these bigger rats that, while not as common as normal rats in game, they're big and they deal a lot of damage. So when you put stuff like that into perspective, you start to see a lot of the flaws in the game. And now, me personally, I don't think the game is terrible. Okay, a lot of people give the game a bad rap, but the game actually has some good features, like the soundtrack. Now, the soundtrack was something I was going to mention earlier, but the soundtrack is actually pretty freaking cool. Like, it has songs by Slipknot, like People Equal Shit and the Hair Digging Anthem, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. There's also songs by Meshuggah, Kill Switch Engage, and there's just a bunch of great, like, early to late 90s, early 2000s industrial metal and new metal songs that only, I believe, play when you get, and do a fight with a boss, or if you go into like a dungeon type deal. But the soundtrack is pretty good. Aside from the soundtrack and aside from the flaws, what are my honest thoughts of the game? Well, my honest thoughts is that it's not a terrible game. While it does lack a lot of what Fallout is and what Fallout is known for today, this was the very first time a Fallout game would go on to consoles. And like right after the game was like finishing development, they were thinking about doing a sequel to that game. And that, I believe, was also going to be exclusive to consoles and possibly getting like a PC port then, because unfortunately porting Fallout to console in the early days on the PlayStation 2 and the original Xbox, not the best conversion, but with the limitations, they did the best they could. And in my opinion, it's not a terrible game. Now, a final rating score of the game, I don't know. I would give the game a solid 7 out of 10 because it is a Fallout game. So there's that. If you love Fallout, I highly recommend you play this one because despite it being forgotten, and a lot of people say that it is the worst Fallout game in the whole franchise, it's not. It is forgotten, but it is not the worst. So, nice solid 7 out of 10 is my final score for the game. So, that was my retrospective of Fallout Brotherhood of Steel. I put a lot of effort into this one because I have always wanted to do a video on this. On my last channel, I did a video on this that wasn't a retrospective video, but it was just all about, forgotten games entirely. And I had this whole smaller series that only had like 3 episodes by the time my last channel was still up. And this was the first episode that I ever made for that series. And this was also the only Fallout game that I ever reviewed on my last channel, because I had made plans for early 2023 that I was going to do just a whole review of the entirety of the Fallout franchise, because I have played every single one. And honestly, I just think that the Fallout series has evolved so much that we went from it went from being a game that was to a game that is good but also because, like I said, there are great Fallout games in the franchise. Like, the first three Fallout games were probably my favorite for a while, and then Fallout 3, obviously, great game. Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 4, which was a return to fashion, and then Fallout 76. We don't really talk about Fallout 76, but considering the limitations at the time and with the PlayStation and the original Xbox, it's pretty impressive that they took a whole game franchise and this is a 11 plus hour long game. Like, it takes a very long time to beat it. I beat it and I felt amazing afterwards because of how much of an experience it is. And so, with that thought, I highly recommend you give Fallout Brotherhood of Steel a try on either PlayStation 2 or original Xbox. Anyway, that's all that I really have for this episode. Like I said, I put a lot of thought and effort into this episode in particular because I recently replayed the game, and that was fun. And a quick announcement that within the next couple of weeks or even days, I might do a bunch of live streams on my YouTube channel of just me playing Fallout Brotherhood of Steel, because I have also nothing better to do. And also, I'm recording all of this stuff on my phone, and so live streaming from my phone is also going to be a fun experience. So stay tuned. And if you like the video, tell me in the comments down below. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.